I recently finished converting my 1973 VW Westfalia over to ATO fuses from the original factory thing. I wanted to post this because there's not a lot of information about this and it is helpful. The reason why I did this is because my bus has AC, and when you put the AC evaporator back in, you couldn't get to the original fuse box at all. So that's why I moved it down some, because it will literally cut off right here. The bottom of the evaporator fan will hit right here. So I use two 25 amp terminals up here. This one is this one right here is the power in, where the battery goes in and the headlight things are. Then it goes into the fuse box, and then it goes through the fuses and goes through the red wires up to here. So everything is wired the original way except the fuse box. So it's just a plug and play system. I need to do this because I want to put fog lights, dual horns, and then I have a radio slash fan relay, which is for when I plug in put my key in the ignition, the radio and the fans will get power, along with the CB radio I'm putting over there, mounting it on the AC when it gets in. But the only thing that I did change in the wiring is how it's done is the positive red that goes directly from the battery to the front, which goes to these three. I can't remember which fuse, but one of these three. Instead of going to fuse box, it goes directly to here. So everything like my AC stuff and the relay stuff will get power. And then I have a blue, I think I have a 8 gauge wire going to over here, which instead of originally on for the power inlet, it had a bridge between these two wires. I can't remember which one. It had a bridge. Instead of doing that, it has jumpers, 25 amp jumpers, which it definitely starts a lot better, and everything's working a lot better, because that thing was bottlenecking a lot of stuff. But yeah, that's why I post this. I made a diagram and I'll post it in the description, which is over on my Samba, which is helpful just like to get everything up. But it definitely looks a lot better than it did, because now I don't have any electrical problems except the two I had before, which are this thing's grounding out, which I already know it's because the coupler is bad, and the only electrical issue is my heater booster fan. All the wiring's right and it still doesn't want to flip on. The fan works, but yeah, that will get sorted out when I get to the shop. Cause I have to get some transmission work done, and they can deal with that. Cause I've already tried to fix it. The fan does work, and I replaced the relay. It's just the activation. For some reason, it's not wanting to activate it. But it's also going to get a new windshield. I already fixed that. I'll repaint it sometime. I don't know, but definitely would recommend, if you do have AC, put fresh air fans in, because you won't be able to get to it, and they definitely work out very well. Put in the headliner and everything. This is the original headliner, but I had to get the lead paint off because it was flaking like hell. This is the inside. This is the only, that's the only panel that I have to make because it was rotted. I just have like this old green carpet out of a later Westfalia. That's to protect the floor. Because this floor, the original vinyl floor, is completely fine except for it has 2 nicks in it. That's it. I just have it in here to protect it. Because why replace it if it's lasted 40 years? Definitely better than replacement shit. And plus, I'm cheap. To an extent. Gotta replace this seal. They do have to fix the pop top. Because the wood up here rotted out. So when it sat from 2005 to basically until I got it, until I propped up pieces of wood, because over that period of time it warped, the fiberglass warped, so the fiberglass will have to be cut, because I have it where it lines up here, but this sticks out, so that's why there's tape, which I know it's ghetto, but it works, because I don't want stuff getting in right there. And the reason why it sat so long, because I am legally the second, but technically the third owner, because the person I bought it from the original owner, but didn't really do anything to it, because he didn't have time. But the original owner, how it got this happened, because this was all crushed in, is the original owner in 2005 went to the post office and she didn't have the parking brake on. She had it in gear, and her dog, she had it in reverse, but her dog knocked it into first gear and it rolled down into a pole, and she never fixed it, which apparently this was her only, she just got a newer car and just had this sitting out front until I think he got it in 2015 and I got it in 2017. So, and I definitely got, because I only paid $2,500 for this car, which is definitely worth it, because it barely has any rust except in the front, which I just painted with PR15 because all up there is leaking every time it rains. Everything good, especially because this engine only has 50, how much is on it? The bus has 51,000 miles on it, which that is original, because looking at the records, the original owner bought it but didn't really start driving this thing regularly until 1997, which at 1997 it only had 17,000 miles on it. So she put like, yeah. So, because I can definitely tell it's a low mileage because there's no blow-by. It's still, basically the car is low mileage, except that it was sitting for a while. So everything does. And really, I'm surprised it drove to my house, because this thing, I replaced the shocks, but no joke, the shocks on this were the original shocks, and a lot of the parts were the original parts because they had never been replaced. Mainly the shocks and the front brakes, but the brake pads have been replaced. But some of this stuff should have been replaced, but never was, because it was not driven that often until 1997, which I'm gonna have to cut this out in these areas, but it should stop rusting any further for right now. Still got PR15, the rest of that, those holes. But it's almost done. Almost. Gotta repaint. Whenever the windshield gets removed, I gotta repaint that. But it's almost done. Because I got all the AC stuff done. The evaporator is over here with all my other shit for it. Which I'm actually converting it, since it's already off and it's already cleaned. I'm converting it to R134A, which I know everything on this car is basically was designed for R12, but I already have it off and get a new compressor, so I might as well just future-proof it. Which I'll also post in the description a link to the wiring diagram that I modified from the original stuff. Because instead of having, let me go back over here. Instead of having this one main relay, 40 amp relay powering everything how it originally was, I have two. One is for the AC condenser and clutch, and the other one's for the evaporator. And I also changed, instead of the original motors for the AC evaporator, which they were originally wired. They're originally wired in series. I have them wired in parallel. I do have to take it back out, which is a pain, because I put new fan motors in, and they're supposed to be sucking air and they're blowing, so I had to switch that red wire up in here so it's ground, and the ground wire is the positive. But these new motors I have in on the left side of the car, I had to put spacers because they will hit the floor above, because there's like a weird indentation thing from the molding, like where they pressed the panel, whatever. But this fuse box also has a waterproof cover, but I don't trust it because you can still jiggle it and that thing does not seal, so that's a lie. But yeah, but gotta fix the horn, everything else. But I'm gonna go start it up, a cold start, because this hasn't started in about a week, because I'm one of those people that starts their cars once a week because I want this thing to stay running. But those tires, they're hand hooks. There you go. This is without a choke because the choke doesn't work, so I need to disable it. the reason why it is doing it when I press on the gas, sometimes because the mechanical fuel pump is going out, so this bolt empties when you're flooring it, which is going over to electric because I'm putting in dual Weber 40 IDFs in, which I still got to figure out how I'm gonna mount an AC idle up solenoid, because I'm putting in instead of the linkage that goes like this, it's gonna have the linkage, the bell crank linkage from, where is it from? CSP, not CFP, CST, which goes like that. That mounts right over here. Gotta figure that out, but yeah. Which the shop's gonna install that because I don't think I mentioned it, but the transmission is actually stuck in gear, which I can't. I've already tried getting it out of gear. What happened is I can't remember what it's called, but there's the shaft from the shifter, and then the nose cone part. When you twist the shaft and move it up and down, it moves like a lever inside and pushes a lever inside the transmission, changing the gears. This part of it, that little lever thing, is jammed or / broke, which that's why, because the transmission doesn't make any noise whatsoever, as that, because it would make something if it was bad or something was wrong with the transmission, but since it had this little mild, which is highly unlikely. Also need a new clutch, because the original clutch is basically dead. Just it all the way in, basically. But it's getting there. We're there soon. This does have a glass pack on it, which is loud as hell. Pretty sure my neighbors don't like it when I start it once a week, but yeah. Also, when it goes to the shop, when they drop the engine, they're putting the cooling system back, the cooling flats back in, and the thermostat back in. They are also, since it's going to be a part, they are going to go ahead and replace some of the engine seals, because just so it's a part, they're going to replace the engine seals for the pushrod tubes, the oil cooler. I'm also missing that seal, because the oil cooler is right there. I'm missing that seal, which I think I already bought it. But yeah, because since this engine's going to be dropped in apart, you might as well go ahead and replace those 40-something euro seals that will start leaking. There's no oil leaks on this now, but I plan on driving this, which that's my other car that I drive. Yeah, I know, I drive a Mini daily, and I own a Volkswagen, so my two babies. I'll post an update video when, actually after it goes to the shop and I get back, then I'll post an update video, because then I can actually drive it. Which, surprisingly, I'm surprised, I've never driven a manual car, which is surprising when you consider the fact that my dad's an auto mechanic and has worked on mostly manual cars, and I've never driven a manual car, which is highly surprising, and don't know how I never drove one or learned how to drive one. But yeah, that's gonna be interesting. See, I'll post a video sometime, hopefully this year,